Welcome to the International College of Integrative Medicine podcast, translating science to clinical practice since 1983. I'm your host, Luke W. Russell, and I'm joined by Dr. Ellie Campbell. Dr. Campbell, thanks for sitting down and chatting with me.
Oh, Luke, it's my pleasure.
So, first, could you just tell us a little bit about what you do and where you're based out of?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Dr. Ellie Campbell. I'm a board-certified family physician, also certified in integrative holistic medicine. My practice is in suburban Atlanta. I have a solo concierge membership-style practice.
Okay, and so what is there anything new in your practice over the last year or two?
Well, one of the things that I have maybe a problem with is that I'm addicted to going to medical conferences. Should probably go into a 12-step program because, for example, I think I have 7 conferences in the next 9 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's always something new in our office.
Yeah.
We're always adding something new and different. Over the last couple of years, we've gotten a lot more interested in using IV therapies in our office as an adjunct to the other things that we do. IV therapies for detoxification, IV therapies for adrenal support. And here at this conference today, we're talking about the role that IV therapy can have as adjunct to cancer to reduce the side effects of chemo and radiation, and then to support the patient after they're done with their treatment to help them regenerate and feel better and improve their quality of life. So that's really exciting to learn from here that I'm looking forward to implement. Another thing that we've added in the last year or so, well, a couple of years really, is thermal breast imaging. This is October of 2018. We're in the middle of what the rest of the world calls Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But in our office, we call this Breast Health Awareness Month. Because we believe that cancer is truly a scary disease, but if you're empowered with information, that you can create a care plan for yourself that makes sense. And with the addition of breast thermography, we have a 7 to 10 year lead time that tells us that your breasts are in trouble and not metabolizing well and not detoxifying well, and gives you an opportunity to intervene with lifestyle changes, nutritional supplements, or even IV therapy to help support you. So we can give you hope that you don't ever have to have that breast cancer journey. But if you do, we have tools for that too.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So what do you feel like there's been any particular knowledge or maybe a trend you've been seeing in patients that you've discovered over recent months or years?
I would say that social media has really shifted how rapidly information is disseminated. So what's happening is there will be a study on something, and then suddenly everybody wants to do it, right? So one example of this is the ketogenic diet. So I would say that this has really pulled into the public consciousness the idea that food matters. How you eat it, when you eat it matters. And yet, without any support, I think a lot of people are doing this somewhat dangerously. And so in the world of the ketogenic diet, there are certain people with genotypes, genetic polymorphisms, that should not be eating a high-fat diet. And a ketogenic, by its definition, is very high-fat. So while for many people it is transformational, and here at this conference we're learning about the role of ketogenic diet in reducing improving survival rates for cancer patients and improving quality of life for cancer patients. There's some people that shouldn't do it or should only do it under the very, very careful monitoring of a physician and a nutritionist experiencing ketogenesis. So I think same is true for intermittent fasting, same is true for even like, say, an Atkins diet, which is an animal-based high-fat diet. It's probably not good for you like a plant-based high-fat diet would be. And right, and so we're seeing some of these nuances that aren't necessarily coming up in the social media world, but yet under the care of a physician, you can get some of that nuanced guidelines.
Yeah. Wow. So let's talk about your family practice. Tell me, talk to me a little bit about your family practice and how you're helping your patients.
Right. So I did really traditional family medicine for 13 years. plus training. And what I realized is the longer I did that, following the best evidence-based guidelines of experts in the industry, that my patients got fatter and sicker and more diabetic and more depressed, and all they did was take more drugs.
Yeah.
And I took a very bird's eye view as I had 3 children and realized that, holy cow, my 3 daughters were going to be having menarche at the same time I hit menopause. And that would be a hormonal storm that would chase my husband away. So I started looking to the wisdom of the ancients to see if I could get some preemptive solutions to minimize the impact that those transitional hormonal times would have on our family and our life. And as I did that, I suddenly realized that our healthcare system was neither healthy nor caring, and this medical industrial complex was really designed to feed an industry that was about drugs. And so going back to basics, you know, when you're an athlete and you're not doing well, you go back to fundamentals.
Yep.
When you're a practitioner and you're not doing well, you go back to fundamentals. So that means we looked at science and chemistry and biology, and we looked at plants, and we looked at diet and stress and exercise, and it changed my practice forever. I had to leave my conventional brick and mortar practice and start my own solo integrative family medicine practice. So I've been doing that now for nearly 15 years. But I also realized that when I'm going to talk to you about diet, exercise, nutrition, and supplementation, those aren't things the drug companies or insurance companies want to hear about. So I had to change my business model too, and I realized I couldn't accept insurance because I wouldn't get paid for what I was doing. So I evolved to a cash-only model, and that wasn't successful because I was working 60 to 80 hours a week, and my nurse made more money than I did, and that didn't seem sustainable. So I switched my business model again to a membership-based concierge practice. And when I did that, I cut the number of patients I saw to a manageable number, and I created a salary that was now more in keeping with my other colleagues. Still didn't make as much as the surgeons in my community or whatever, but I was still doing an okay job now, managing my own personal lifestyle along with the cases of the complicated patients that I was managing.
So how, as far as people in your community who would hear this and think, wow, Dr. Campbell sounds fascinating, how do they kind of go from, how do they learn more before having to commit to becoming a member?
Yeah, so in our office, what we do, first of all, we have a pretty robust website. And so if they go to www.campbellfamilymedicine.com and just look us up, we have a cute little interactive website that there's a little 1-minute video about me talking about 10 or 12 different subjects and things that might be interested. So if they're even more intrigued after that, we invite any person who wants to become a member of our practice to come talk with us for about 20 or 30 minutes in what we call our free meet and greet appointment. It is during that time where I have an opportunity to hear what's wrong with you and to answer these questions. Do I know what's wrong with you? Can I help you? How much will it cost and how long will it take? Right? And if I can figure that out in 20 or 30 minutes, then we can say this is a good fit or this is not a good fit. And once in a while, maybe 1 out of 40 patients, 1 out of 50 who come see us, I won't accept as a patient. They're either not motivated enough to make changes, so they want to dip their toe in the water and see, but I can tell they've never changed a diet in their life, they've never taken a supplement, and they're really not interested in those sort of changes. So they're just not a good fit. It would waste their money and my time. So, and the most common scenario for that is the family member of someone who's gotten great results with us, and they're dragged by their ear by their spouse to say, you need what I've got, and the spouse is not interested. And so I refuse to accept them as a patient.
Yeah.
But if the patient is a good fit and it looks like it's something I can help them with, for example, I'm not a cancer doctor. So if you're coming to see me for treatment of your cancer, that's not something that I will help you with. I have great referrals in my community for integrative cancer practitioners I'm happy to send you to. Now, if you want me to help you with detoxification and nutrient optimization and hormone balancing, I can help with that. So we have to have our expectations online. And if I help you, then we have 21 pages of homework that you have to go home and do about your medical history. Once we receive that, we'll schedule you a new patient appointment time, which is 2 hours in our office.
Yeah. Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, it takes a long time to hear your story,
Yeah.
to understand you, what your antecedents, triggers, and mediators were, and how we can get to the root cause of what it is that's making you not have your optimal health outcomes, and then create a care plan to identify what those root causes are and then how to fix them.
What would you say is, so if a person's kind of trying to they're trying to figure out, is this for me, is this not for me? What's really the deciding factor?
I think the deciding factor is finding a practitioner that you mesh with. So there's a lot of integrative care practitioners in suburban Atlanta where we live, and so you might get exactly the same care plan from 3 of us, but it'll be implemented in a different way with each practitioner. So I would say as a consumer, it's sort of your job to go through the exercise of looking at everybody's website, looking at their testimonials, reading through the social media, seeing what's out there, and then you can really get a great feeling for the personality of the practitioner. And if that's a good meld, then you're going to be motivated to make those changes that you need to do to get better.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll be back in a little bit with more from my interview with Dr. Campbell. First, let's listen in to what our executive director at ICIM has to say.
Hi, this is Wendy, and I'd like to talk to you about becoming a member of ICIM. The very best benefit we can offer you are conference discounts. And you can save a significant amount of money when you plan to join us at our in-person gatherings if you are a member. Members can join at any time before the conference, during the conference, or even after the conference, and you will get a refund to match the member rate. So if you're interested, email me, wendy@icimed.com. That's wendy@icimed.com. And we can talk over what becoming a member might mean to you and might look like in your life. Thank you.
Awesome. Now, let's get back to the rest of my interview with Dr. Campbell. Now, I'd like you to tell me a little bit about how you help physicians implement a similar model in there, because I've talked to various doctors that have either seen one person try it in town and they go out of business, so they're just terrified of it, and other people who maybe live in a less friendly state environment. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so after doing this for 15 years, I started my cash-only practice in 2005. Back in those days, there was no roadmap to do this. MDVIP was one of the very first concierge-style business models, and they were just at their beginning of their journey as well. But they were also a franchise, and I really didn't want to be a part of a franchise. So being driven by my patients that weren't getting better and being driven by my bank account that was poorer than ever, I knew I had to make a shift. And so my friend Chris Ewan became my consultant, and he helped me design a concierge membership practice that based not fee-for-service, but fee-for-care. And so we stumbled along with that, but that model, as fabulous it is for family medicine, had very little inclusion for the functional medicine piece that I did, and didn't account for the extended amount of time that we spend with functional medicine patients in a root cause resolution. So making lots of mistakes along the way, bumps and speed bumps and errors and omissions and whatever. We finally, about 2010, came upon a model that really works for us. And so as I became more and more successful with that, clinicians and colleagues kept asking me, how do you do what you do? How do you make it work? Yeah. And the honest answer is a huge reason for my success is my partner and business manager, office manager, Natalie Paterno. Yeah. Without Natalie's guidance and expertise on how to run the back office side of my practice, my brilliance in medical outcomes would not have a framework in which to be successful. So it's Natalie's work on team building with the staff, on hiring and firing the people that aren't true to our mission, on creating a team around me of systems and implementing consent forms and strategies and automating as much as possible to reduce the redundancy in the system to make us lean. Yeah. And when you're lean, you don't spend so much money, and then you can charge your patients less. Yep. Right? Yeah. And so, so as a result of that, we created Revolution Practice, which is now our consulting business that teaches doctors how to do what we do, which is integrative and functional medicine within the framework of a cash-only membership or program-based model. Some doctors don't want to have a full-on membership, or they don't want to do long-term primary care with their patients, but they do need a framework for, say, a 6 or 12-month care model to provide the patient all the service that they need within that care, within that time frame, to get optimal results. So we created that business, and now we do that nights and weekends.
That's so cool. I want to ask, so you cited your office manager,
yes,
and the role she's played, and I can just imagine some physicians listening and thinking, I don't have that person.
Right.
Like what would you say to that doctor?
Yeah, so I would say come to one of our Revolution Practice events, because 4 times a year we do live events. They're about 8 hours long, and she talks about hiring the perfect people and how to look for them. For example, Natalie came to me after a meeting. She literally burst her way into my office and said, "You need to hire me."
That's great.
So I hired her because I saw in her a spark, ethos, aura of some greatness that I knew we needed to work together. Yeah. And so not everybody will have that, or this tremendous kick-ass Natalie that we have. However, you can go to the grocery store, and the person who checks you out, who is doing an amazing job, who reads your name off your credit card and said, "Mrs. Campbell, thank you so much for shopping at Kroger today. It's been a pleasure serving you. I know you had lots of grocery stores to choose from, and I appreciate that you came here today," right?
Yep.
Then you look at her and say, "Do you love your job? How much are you making an hour? Would you consider working at my front desk instead of here at Kroger?" Right? You can steal people from their jobs. That's how I got my best phlebotomist.
That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've had tremendous front office clerks from that. We also use temporary agencies, because in a temp agency, you can hire somebody who is looking for a perfect fit for their life, right? Yeah. So you can both sort of test the waters and see. You can have the agency will do a lot of screening for you to make sure that this person has background check and all those other things. And then you can work with them for a few months and say, this is working great. Or if it's not, after 3 weeks, you let them go and try somebody else. So
excellent.
Right. So there's lots of ways that you can get these people if they don't exist already in your office. Yeah. That being said, there's some very successful micro practices that are solo doctors only with no team. Yeah. And now that we have outsourcing of things like virtual scribes and virtual health coaches and virtual billing services, you don't necessarily have to have staff. You can outsource a bunch of that at a much more affordable cost than having to hire a person with benefits.
And you're saying your program, you're able to help these doctors navigate whether they want to do this solo or if they want to do it with a team.
Yes, we can.
That's really cool. So you mentioned your live events. You said they're 8 hours long, so like a one-day event.
Yeah, so they're a one-day event. They're usually in Atlanta. We'll be doing one at the International College of Integrative Medicine in March in Philadelphia.
Yes.
And so we'll be doing a sort of a half-day version of that. And we're very excited to do that. We will come to any city that any practitioner assembles 10 or more of their best friends.
Yeah.
We will go to any city in the country and do, or Canada, and do one of these events. So we're happy to do, have an event, we'll travel.
Yeah.
But most of them are centered in and around Atlanta because that's our home base.
Is there ongoing support?
And then following that 8-hour event, we're in the process of assembling a whole series, a library of recorded webinars on different subject matters. So we host webinars currently about once every 2 months. We're looking to get to a point where we have those webinars twice a month. We're not yet there for mostly personal reasons. It's new start business, so we're kind of ramping up. And I had a serious accident a year and a half ago. I was rear-ended by a semi-truck, and I ended up with a concussion that really slowed our development of this new start business. But the good news is that I'm better. In part, I'm better because of neurofeedback, which I'd also like to talk to you about.
Yes.
And I'm not back to baseline yet, but I'm better enough that we're able to now generate some content for our Revolution practice. But that's the long-term goal, is to have people come for an 8-hour event and then everything else be virtual.
Wow.
So they can, and we do have a private Facebook group for people who have attended our events, so they can share their trials and tribulations as well as their successes with each other to help coach people in a similar place in their journey, creating their own practice of their dreams.
Wow. So I'd love to hear then about you have an upcoming event for microcurrent neurofeedback. Could you talk about that?
Yeah. So part of my journey recovering from my concussion was getting neurofeedback. And with the advent of neurofeedback, I felt like it turned my light bulb from my brain from dim to brighter. And so I was fascinated by that. And at the last event in Cleveland of the International College of Cincinnati, of the International College of Integrative Medicine, I learned about microcurrent neurofeedback. The brand name of this company is IASIS. And so I was fascinated by it because Dr. Frank Schallenberger is one of the mentors in our field, a giant on whose shoulders we stand, and he is a huge advocate of this type of neurofeedback. And 5 clinicians who I know, like, and trust were also using the same technology. So I trained in Missouri, the Show Me State, and I don't believe anything on first pass. So I did a huge amount of research into this technology and talked with a dozen different practitioners all across the country who are using it. And what microcurrent neurofeedback does is it pulses a tiny amount of electricity into your brain, shifting the physiology, shifting the receptors, so that it basically takes the trash out of your brain and opens it up and reboots the computer. So it doesn't matter what's wrong with your brain, whether you have anxiety, depression, OCD, PTSD, whether you're suffering from a traumatic brain injury or a concussion, or you're just an athlete who wants better sports performance, or an executive who wants a better cognitive capacity. Who doesn't want a better brain? Right?
Yeah.
So, and this machine can be used from a newborn to a 100-year-old. There's really whether you have epilepsy, whether you have brain injury, anybody can use this machine. And compared to traditional neurofeedback, which requires, on average, 30 to 40 sessions, each one 60 to 90 minutes long, IASIS is 25 to 30 minutes for 10 sessions in most cases. So it's better, faster, and cheaper than most of the available neurofeedback. So we bought a machine, but I'm thrilled to offer microcurrent neurofeedback as an adjunct to the services that we already offer at Campbell Family Medicine.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Campbell, for taking time to sit down, tell us about your journey and your practice.
You're welcome. It's been an honor. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.